I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. You know who I am, your host Dano. You guys, I got a great show tonight. I have a really good friend of mine, John, and he is the host of Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. He's going to tell us a little bit about some potential Sasquatch encounters that he had back when he was younger, between like 1988 and 1992 in Ohio. But the real reason why he's going to be on is he's going to talk about an encounter uh, with something that he had in November of 2024. I'm not going to let on to what it is right now, but you guys, I'm telling you, it's from the moments that he was spoke last time about it. It's a terrifying encounter. It's one that hit really close and deep in his bones. Um, so you guys, but before we bring him on, I just want to say thanks for all the support. You guys know if you've had an encounter, you can always email me at the cryptopodcast72@gmail.com. Again, that's the cryptopodcast72@gmail.com. And you guys, let's not wait any further. Let's bring our guest on, John. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, man?
It's going good, man. Hey, fun on your show. I mean, that's what we just did like 30 minutes ago. So I had a great time on your show. So yes, guys, I'm gonna be on Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. Check him out, show him some love. John, let's talk about what got you involved with this whole cryptid world, so to speak.
Well, up until 2021, I was a complete skeptic of basically, I shouldn't say complete skeptic, open-minded skeptic to the paranormal, to cryptids, anything. I think I kind of believed in UFOs, just because we can't be the only thing out there. But in 2021, we did a ghost hunt at the Randolph County Infirmary in Winchester, Indiana, and we had some poltergeist activity there.
Oh, cool.
And that opened my mind. It's like, okay, if ghosts are real, what else is real? So I started going down the different rabbit holes, and I think the first one it's got to be Bigfoot,
Yeah.
And they told us ghosts aren't real. Well, ghosts are. So what else is real?
Yep.
I think like most people, you end up on Sasquatch Chronicles when you start listening to podcasts and things like that. And it was on that show where I first heard the recording of the Ohio Howl.
Mm.
And when I heard that, like every hair on my body stood up because I had heard that
Oh, really?
when I was younger. Yeah. So I'm not like I said, the encounters with Bigfoot, they're possible. I never had a visual sighting.
Mhm.
So I'm going to preface that real quick. The first one is it's kind of short. Everybody hears about the smell, you know. One of the places where all this stuff happened was called Tar Hollow State Park, and it's in southeast Ohio, down around Chillicothe. Um, the the state park is, I think I read somewhere it's like 1,200 acres, 1,400 acres, something like that. But anyway, we would go horseback riding down there and camping. That's where I spent my summers. And one of the places that we like to ride, one of the trails that we rode, we called it Rattlesnake Ridge. And the reason we called it that was because they had done some logging on one side of the trail, and all the scrap wood and stuff that they didn't use, they kind of piled up, and rattlesnakes had built their dens in there. And yes, Ohio has rattlesnakes. We have timber rattlers. But anyway, there was this one time we were riding and it was hot. And anybody that horseback rides knows that when it's, 9,500 degrees, horses, all they want to do is walk. And so we've been riding for a while. We were going to give the horses a break up by Rattlesnake Ridge, right across from where these rattlesnake dens are. There's a real wide spot and a nice shady spot that we could pull off, get off our horses, and give them a rest. Well, anytime, like if you're familiar with horses, if horses have been down a path, you know, hundreds of times, which our horses had, they know where you stop. They know where you want to take a break. And a lot of times they'll just pull off on their own and, because they know, hey, I'm getting a break up here. Well, we come up to Rattlesnake Ridge and it was like we hit this wall of just garbage, rotten meat, um, wet dog, like just everything that what people describe hearing or smelling. That's what it was like going into a wall, and the whole area around Rattlesnake Ridge it just reeked. We tried to pull our horses over and they wouldn't stop. Like they were doing circles. They didn't want us to get off their backs. They wanted to keep going and they shouldn't have. They should have wanted a break at this point. So, we're all like, what is that smell? And my grandpa, he's like, oh, it's probably that rattlesnake den. Something probably got in there and they killed it or whatever. Whatever. So we decided to ride on up. Well, just as quickly as we came into that smell, we got out of it. And we get up, I don't know, maybe half mile up the path. Horses are fine. They pulled off. They let us get off their backs and, you know, everything was fine. So, like I said, not sure if that's Bigfoot, but the smell was, and the way our horses acted was just odd, you know. Um, so the other time, and I consider this one of the minor ones too. Um, I was the only minor in our group. Um, Everybody that I rode with, I was the oldest grandchild, the oldest child, so I was always treated like an adult. So the adults, they like to drink, you know, adult beverages. And I didn't because at this time I think when this one happened, I might have been 13 or 14. Um, so I wasn't drinking and I would get bored when they would stop and drink because sometimes there's beer breaks, would last quite a while. And here I am, just drinking my water or my pop and, you know, getting bored. So this one day, we usually started riding around 9 o'clock in the morning, and the adults started drinking very early that day. And it was probably 11:30, and they a lot of them were inebriated. So we get to this one pit stop, and I'm not having fun. This is just not for me. I want to ride. I don't care about drinking and all that. Well, there's this one woman, and she had way too much. Like we were afraid she was going to fall off her horse. It was like she needed to go back to camp. So I volunteered to take her back so everybody else could keep riding. And I was riding in Tar Hollow from like 7 or 8 years old. So, I know all these trails and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I'll take her back. And so we take off, just me and her. And we get to this point where we had just come down this trail, and it's a rather steep hill. A lot of people don't think of Ohio as having hills, but Southeast Ohio is the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. So, there's a lot of really steep, rocky hills, a lot of limestone, things like that. But anyway, um, we'd just come down this hill, maybe, I don't know, 30 minutes before that, and everything was fine. So we get to this point and we're almost ready to go up the hill. And again, it's that same smell that we had smelled on Rattlesnake Ridge. And again, it was like riding into a wall. One second that you didn't smell anything, the next second you do. And I hear her say, "What the F is that?" And about that time, our horses bolted. Now, when you're riding horses and you're getting ready to climb a hill, it's not like the movies, you don't let them run up the hill because one, they could hurt themselves, two, they can gas themselves. It's not good for them. They could trip, they could fall, whatever. There was no holding these horses back. Like, I'm trying to hold the horse back. It don't care anything about them reins. So we're basically running up this hill, and we get out of the smell, and we're at the top of the hill, and it's a gravel road. And our horses are, I mean, they are just gassed. They're breathing heavy, sweat running off of them. And I tell the woman I'm with, I'm like, we've got to stop. These horses have to have a break. So we stop at the top of the hill and we get off our horses. And this whole time, the horses have turned their bodies. So they're looking down the path that we just came up. And their ears are perked up. They're like, they're just locked, like looking down this hill. And like I said, I never saw anything, but looking back on it, she didn't say, what's that smell? She didn't say, something stinks. She said, what the F is that? So I don't know if maybe she saw something that I didn't see, but the horses definitely acted like there was something of interest down that hill. And, um, they did sit there the whole time until we were able to get them, they caught their breath and cooled down or whatever. But I don't know. Again, like I said, it was a weird thing that happened. And hearing everybody's encounter stories, it makes you think, was that Sasquatch? I don't know. Just weird. So, those are the like two minor ones. Um, my grandparents had a Winnebago motorhome, and my bed, being the kid, I was above the captain's chairs, that bunk that's up there. And in the summertime, man, that thing gets hot. Um, there's no airflow up there. My grandparents, my grandpa, he didn't like to hear people's generators running. So we never ran the air conditioner in there. He was fine. He was down where it was nice and cool with, big windows on both sides of him. So what I would do is I would um, take a tarp and put it over a couple bales of hay, and I would sleep in the horse trailer. Take me a pillow, blanket, whatever out there, and 'cause it was, 30 degrees cooler in the horse trailer than it was in the Winnebago. So there's one night, um, this is the Ohio house story. Um, this one night, I know what time it was, and again, I don't know how old I was or what year it was, just because at the time I didn't believe in Sasquatch. Sasquatch didn't exist. These were just weird things that happened. So I didn't write any of this stuff down. I just know it happened. But anyway, um, I wake up because I'm hearing what sounds like a weird tornado siren. Um, like, the tornado siren, it starts low, goes high, goes low, goes high. And yeah, it is stretched out, but that's what it does. It's just a cycle. This started low, went high, and then just cut off. And it didn't sound exactly like a tornado siren. Like it was weird. So that it wakes me up, and this is somewhere around 1990. We don't have apps on our phones. Nobody had cell phones back then. Um, the only way you knew the weather is listening to the radio. So we would do that every night to make sure it wasn't supposed to rain, because the horse trailer, it was like a stock trailer, and rain could come in the sides. So I didn't want to be sleeping out there while it was raining. But anyway, so I know we would have listened to the radio if there'd have been a chance of storms or whatever. I would have slept in the camper. But it I don't know how long it went off the first time, because it woke me up. So I'm laying there and I'm like, what was that? And I thought at first um maybe I dreamt it. But I sit there and I lay there and try to go back to sleep. A couple minutes passes and I'm about ready to fall asleep, and it happens again. And it lasts. It's all hindsight, so it's hard to tell if it was 15 seconds or 30 seconds, but to me, it seems like it would have been about 30 seconds. And it's just this, oh, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And then it just cuts off. And my first thought was, it just doesn't sound right. But my second thought was, that's not coming from the nearest town. It's coming from the wrong direction to be a tornado siren. But it cuts off again. And I'm like, what is that? I lay there, lay there, and lay there. I'm like, okay, I don't know what it is, but I start to try to go back to sleep. It happens a third time. And I'm like, that is coming from like the center of the park. And they do have a fire tower at the center of the park. And I have climbed that thing, I don't know how many times. I don't know if you still can or not. I don't think you can. But you could climb that fire tower and just look out over the park. And I'm not even sure how much electricity is up there, at that point. But I never remembered seeing any kind of speaker or, tornado siren or anything like that up there. So I'm like, but, if this is a tornado, I've got to wake people up, because we're on campers, and by this time it's cut off again. And I put my shoes on and I get out of the horse trailer and I start heading into the camper, and it happens again. So it's happened 4 times now. I get in the camper and I'm trying to find the radio. And back then our flashlights basically were no better than having a match. They didn't put off a whole bunch of light. It was yellow light. And so I'm in there, I'm looking, and the only reason I know it was 2:00 in the morning is because my grandpa, his words to me is, "Why are you waking me up at 2:00 in the morning?" And like, I think I hear a tornado siren. We turned on the radio and nothing. They're talking clear skies, there's no rain, nothing. And I'm like, I know I heard a tornado siren. He's like, no, you didn't. You dreamt it. Go back to bed. So I did. You know, like I said, I don't know what it was, but when I heard that recording of the Ohio Howl, that's what I heard. It wasn't a tornado siren. I think it was one of these creatures. So the final possible Sasquatch encounter was another night. I was sleeping in a horse trailer, and I'm awakened by what sounds like when horses get thirsty, they paw at the ground. So I wake up to this thump, thump, thump. I mean, it wasn't fast. There was maybe a half a second to a second in between each thump. And I hear it. I don't know how many times I hear it, but the first thought to my mind is, okay, the horses are thirsty. And if I don't get up and take take them down to get a drink at the creek, I'm going to hear that all night and I'm not going to get any sleep. So I throw my blanket off and I grab my flashlight to put my shoes on. And as soon as I turn the light on, something takes off and it runs towards the creek. And I'm hearing, like limbs breaking and, something huge running through these small trees and stuff at the edge of the creek. And the creek down there is this flat sandstone, like the bed of it. And the bed of the creek in some places is probably 20 to 30 feet wide. In this area, it's one of the wider areas. And the water isn't 30 feet wide. It's just where all the erosion is taking place. So the creek itself is sometimes 2 feet wide, sometimes it's 4 feet wide. But so I used to play in that creek and as a kid all the time, and you can't walk down that creek bed without making noise because those flat stones, they move. You know, the you can't walk down that without making noise. I heard whatever ran, I heard it take one step in the middle of that creek bed, and then it was out the other side crashing through the trees, and it sounded like a truck driving through the woods. And my first thought, because again, I don't believe in Bigfoot, that's not something that exists in my 12-year-old mind or however old I was. That had to be the biggest freaking deer on the planet because I mean, like I said, it sounded like a car driving through the trees. And so I get up and I take the horses down to the creek, and they don't want to stay down there. They did not want to drink. They wanted to get back to the hitching post or whatever. And I mean, so I take them back up there, and again, don't know if it was Bigfoot, but that thumping that wasn't something small. Let's put it that way. And whatever ran through those woods was not small. So yeah, that's my possible Bigfoot encounters. I don't know if
Okay,
they really were, but
bro, those are fascinating. And a lot of times, people hear me say, I love hearing encounters like that almost as much, if not more, than an actual sighting, you know, because it leaves so much more to the imagination.
right.
Um, I only have just a couple of quick questions.
Mhm.
One, when you were taking that lady back, about how old were you?
That would have been one of the older times because I had to have been like 13 or 14 years old
Okay.
to be able to
And
for them to trust me to take her back. Yeah.
okay, and what direction was she looking? Do you recall when she goes, "What the F is that?"
I don't know. She was behind me and it's a
Okay.
single file trail. So,
Okay.
there's not room for us to be riding next to each other. I just heard her from behind me say, "What the F is that?"
Okay.
And at the time I was thinking she was referring to the smell, but I don't know. Looking back, I would guess I would expect somebody to say, "What's that smell?" Or, "Oh my God, that stinks."
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Okay.
And she was so inebriated whenever we got back to the camp, I had to help her into our camper.
Mm.
So what she probably wouldn't even remember this at this point, and hell, she's probably in her 70s now, so I don't know.
Yeah. Um, and then we're gonna just a couple questions about what you just talked about. So, what do you think was making that thumping noise?
I think it was a walking.
So, okay.
I think it
And
was right outside the horse trailer, and I've always wondered if I wouldn't have been with if I'd have been laying on the ground, would I have been able to feel it? But, there's the tires of the horse trailer and, it's hooked to the camper with tires.
yeah.
So, I don't know.
Um, it's I assume it sounded bipedal when it took off running.
It's hard to tell. It was just a bunch of crashing of trees.
Okay,
I couldn't really hear the footsteps as it ran off.
right.
It was more the going through the brush, and then
Okay,
what I think was one step in the middle of that 20 to 30-foot creek bed.
right.
And in my mind at the time, I was picturing a deer jumping in the middle and then jumping out,
Yeah.
but I don't recall hearing more than one footstep in the middle of that.
Okay. And the horses were agitated.
Oh yeah, like they I when I took them when I got out there, they were like nickering and stuff like that, and I thought it was because okay, they realized they're going to get something to drink.
Mhm.
And but when I was trying to take them down there, like I got them down to the creek and they're just doing circles. They wanted to
Wow.
get back up. They did not want to be down there.
Okay. So now we come to the main story, and again, I'll jump off screen, and where I'll write questions down if I have them. Take your time. Um, and you guys, honestly, uh, when you watch this, if you guys feel the need to leave like a negative comment on in the chat, don't. I'll just delete it. You guys, this is not something that's super easy for someone to talk about, especially on what he saw. So let's give him the respect that he deserves and the benefit of the doubt. Try to put yourself in his shoes as he relives this and tells this story. Okay. All right.
So it was November 30th, 2024. My wife and I had spent the day Christmas shopping in Greenville, Ohio. We were on our way back home, and I live. Um, it's about a 40-minute drive from Greenville, Ohio, to where I live in Indiana. And um, so again, it's November, and it's about 7 o'clock at night, so it's dark. We'd had snow flurries that day, so it was in the high 20s, maybe. Yeah, probably. Um, Overcast. There was no moon or anything like that. And we are on State Route 28, um, coming out of Union City, Indiana, and there's a car in front of me, and this whole area is all like agricultural. There's no street lights. Um, I don't even know if there's even an intersection along that stretch of road that has any kind of lights. I don't think there is. But so the only lights you might see is like at a farmhouse or something like that, like their security lights. Um, there is a car in front of me, and I would guess maybe 200 to 300 yards. It's hard to tell at night. Um, um, if you're from the country, especially like this part of the country, um, you're always on the lookout for deer this time of year. Um, so you're watching the car in front of you. I was watching the car in front of me to see if they hit the brakes, swerve. Sometimes you can see, a deer or whatever walk between you and the lights in front of you. So I'm focused on the road. My wife, she was on her phone. She was putting in a Walmart order for our groceries the next day. So she did not see any of this. Um, we come up to, I believe it's called Miller Creek, and it's a feeder into the Mississinawa River. And as we're crossing the bridge, there's I see something in the road, and at first it's like on a center line, and all I can make out is it's like a gray mass, and I would say it's probably 40 to 50 yards ahead of me when I first notice it. Um, so this, and I'm doing probably 60 mile an hour. So this whole thing is probably 3 seconds is all this encounter lasts. But as I get closer, I I realize that it's the upper body of a man, and it's up on its fists, like it's holding itself up, and I can only see from like where the belly button should be up. Like it's when I first said what I saw, I said I felt like it was coming up out of the ground because like I couldn't see hips, I couldn't see legs, anything like that. And it's up on its knuckles and it's looking to its right, like it's looking at something in the ditch. And like I said, it's below freezing that night, and this thing had no clothes on. Like I could see the muscles in its chest. It looked like a swimmer or a runner, like fit, but not like bulky, muscular. Um, the skin was like a cigarette ash gray, and so it's looking to its right, and it turns and looks at me. And it doesn't have any eyes. Like it's just sockets. The face is it's like a skull, and from like here down, it's just skin. There's no nose, there's no mouth, and it kind of looks like it's pulled, like like a goatee, but it's just skin. Um, no hair. I I couldn't. I don't know if it had ears or not. I couldn't see any. I wasn't paying attention. All I could see were the holes where the eyes should be. And as I get closer to it, with its right arm, it took like a step towards me, and with its left hand, it like lunged at the car. So I swerve, and at that point, my wife is, of course, she looks up, and I was like, "Did you see that?" And she didn't. And so for the first couple minutes, I couldn't even talk. I couldn't tell her what I just saw because I was so like that shouldn't exist. What I just saw should not exist. And so it was probably another 10 minutes before I finally was able to tell her what I saw. And she's like, "Do you want to go back?" I'm like, "No, I saw it once. I don't want to see it again." So I'm like, I'm doing pretty well this time telling it, but at the time I'm crying. I saw something that just shouldn't exist. And we get home and I'm really good friends with Alan and Chris from Nevermore Hollows, and I called them, and I'm like, I got to talk to somebody. I got to tell somebody what I saw. So we're on the phone for probably a half hour, and they get me kind of calmed down. And one of the things that Alan had said was possibly like a ghoul or something like that, because he asked the question. One of them asked the question, "Was there a cemetery nearby?" And right where this happened, up on top of a hill, there's an old cemetery. So we're like, okay, maybe it was a ghoul. We don't know. I don't know what I saw. So they get me calmed down a little bit. And one of the questions I think Chris asked was, "Did you hit it?" And if if you ever hit like an animal or something, you feel it, you hear it. Um, but I didn't hear or feel anything. But I did, swerve the car pretty hard, um, enough to, make that little bit of a squalling sound with the tires. So whatever. I get I get off the phone with Alan and Chris, and um, I go outside. I'm a smoker. I go outside to smoke a cigarette to calm down. And I got to thinking, I'm like, maybe I did hit it. So I turn my flashlight on my phone and I go out front and I look at the front bumper and the front fender, and there's nothing. But then I get to the side of the car and there's 4 finger marks down the side of my car. And I do have pictures of that. Um, I'll see if I can pull it up here.
If you can email those to me super quick, I'll see if I can load them up so we can show them on here.
Let me share my screen.
Okay.
Oh, I was editing video. Here we go. I don't know if you can see that or not, but right here is one. Are you able to see that? Oh, I did this the other day too. Were you able to see that? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, I was able to see it. I could see something was there, but I couldn't see it up close.
Okay, I will email you those pictures if you want to include them. But
Sure.
there were 4 finger marks on the side of the vehicle, and I should have, and I didn't. I didn't measure how long the swipe was, but from the bottom finger to the top finger was 8 inches, and like these 2 fingers were close together. So if you try to spread your fingers out like that from here to here, would have been 8 inches. So that, to me, that hand is massive, you know. And so I come back in the house, and my wife, she can see that something's wrong, and she's like, what's going on? And I was like, it touched the car, and I took her out, to see it, and yeah, yeah. So after that, I started, trying to figure out what I saw. And initially, I thought rake. I had some other people tell me some other things. Like one person said they thought it was an Alusa. Um, for a while, I kind of thought maybe that's what it was. But then looking into the descriptions of an Alusa, it doesn't quite fit. The only reason I kind of went with that, um, the Nalusa is said to cause overwhelming fear and sorrow. And that's what I felt, at the time it happened. But then I was talking to Rod from Lodge Tales podcast. He had heard my story, and we were talking about what I saw, and he asked me a couple questions, and he had said that he's from the Blackfoot tribe, and he had said he thought that it might be a spirit that they have called dragging entrails full of dirt, and it's basically what I describe. It's a half-bodied man, but since it's missing its lower body, it's dragging its entrails. Could have been this whole area is was Miami and Delaware Native Americans. And there was a lot of battles that happened here. There's a lot of burial mounds in the area. So could it have been? I don't know. But then, so for the last year, I've either been calling this the thing or a rake. It seems to fit rake, kind of. Other than a lot of the descriptions you hear about the rake is it's very spindly, emaciated, whatever. This was muscular. Didn't look sick. But then here in the last month or so, there's been that 911 call that's been going around from North Carolina where that guy had something jump in the back of his truck. And a lot of people have heard the 911 call, but again, I'll mention Sasquatch Chronicles, and it's either episode 1192 or 1194, somewhere around in there. He played the 911 call at the beginning, but then at the end of the show, if you listen all the way to the end of it, he not only plays the 911 call, but he plays an interview with the guy that made the 911 call. And he described basically the same creature that I did, other than it was full body. But it was no, like, deep sunk eyes, no nose, no mouth, like flat skin, like a skull. So, I mean, that kind of validated what I saw, because you hear of the rake, you hear of pale crawlers, things like that. But what I saw doesn't quite fit the descriptions of what I've heard of the rake or the pale crawler or anything like that. So hearing his encounter, and that apparently happened back in 2017. So this is a creature that's been seen. Now, is it a rake? I don't know. I don't know what else to call it other than a rake. So, yeah, that's my story.
Wow, dude. I mean, I'm writing things down so I can remember questions that I have. You answered a few of the questions that I have, but so you mentioned there was a car in front of you.
Mm-hmm. It never reacted.
Never react.
I
Okay.
never saw brake lights. I never saw it swerve. I would have noticed that, because if I would have seen it brake or something, I would have been on alert.
Yeah.
But no, it never did any of that.
Man, that's crazy, dude. And you said it was looking towards a ditch.
Yeah, like when I first saw it, its head was turned to its right, and then as I got closer, it just kind of like turned its head towards me, like I felt like it was looking at me.
Mm, yeah. I mean, part of my my thought process was, well, maybe this thing got hit by a car and its lower half is now sitting in a ditch off to the right, and
It
maybe
could have been. I don't know. I like
yeah,
when it first happened. Just my initial thought was, I've got to get out of here.
yeah,
I didn't really care at that point, you know?
No, I get it, man. Like, and you know what? And another time I'll tell you my rake encounter, and it happened when I was in the summer before my senior year of high school. So it was '89, and I never want to see one again,
Yeah.
ever, ever,
Yeah.
ever, ever.
I you know, I've been divorced 2 times, and I wouldn't even wish that on my ex-wife.
Yeah,
I mean, like, that's I wouldn't wish that on anybody to see that thing because it was not I think I can handle Bigfoot. I can handle seeing Bigfoot because I'm prepared.
yeah,
This was something that I'd never heard of. I mean, I've heard of rake, but not a half-bodied creature with no
yeah,
mouth and no nose,
yeah.
you know? This
I
I
mean,
wasn't prepared for that.
when me and my friend saw it, you know, I think I saw more of it than he did the second time because we had seen it earlier, a few hours earlier. Um, and again, we thought it was just a person because we were driving mini bikes and we drove by this old abandoned house that he had in these woods that was on his property. It's like an old farmhouse. And we thought just it was somebody that was in the house.
Mhm.
And so we whipped up. We were going to go tell his dad that there was someone down in the house. And for the longest time, I thought it was like an alien, until all of a sudden the rake starts popping up online. And I'm like, wait a minute. Holy
Yeah,
crap, So,
and then that's we talked about this a little bit whenever you were on my show, the whole rebranding of things, you
mhm,
know? Um, the rake is a new term
yeah,
for an old creature.
yeah,
But people don't realize the pale crawler has been around forever.
yeah,
It's been talked about in Appalachia. It's Native Americans talk about it. Um, the Dover demon could possibly have been a pale crawler. You
yep,
know, I wonder about some of the um, gray alien encounters that people have, whether there wasn't mistaken identity for a pale crawler or vice versa.
yeah. When I told my story, for a couple times, people would say, "Dude, you saw a gray. You saw a gray," meaning a gray alien.
hmm
And regardless of what it is, man, I don't ever want to see one again.
I'm with you. I'm with you. I, I don't know.
Yeah.
And
Well,
I'm
dude,
proud of myself. I did decent telling it
yeah.
that time.
No, I mean, you had a couple moments where you need to collect yourself, which was fine. By all means, man, I understand. So, where can my audience find you?
You can find me in about anywhere you listen to your podcasts. I'm not on Apple Podcasts, but that's getting ready to change.
Cool, cool,
Um,
cool.
Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. That's where you're going to find me. If you want to be a guest on my show, you can contact me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. I do pretty much the same thing you do, except I do the paranormal, UFOs, cryptids, anything weird, anything. I listen to it all.
Well, I
Um,
I got an email the other day from someone who has a bunch of stuff, and I referred her to another person. She's gonna tell me about the UFO encounters
mhm.
because I like those.
Yeah,
Um, other stuff, again, it's stuff I don't want to touch, but I'll send her your info as well.
absolutely, absolutely. And then you can also find me on Facebook. You send me a message there. My real name is John Fike. I go by John Methenkamp. Um, I should probably explain that a little bit to your audience.
Yeah, you should.
Um, my content creation started out as purely comedy. I was playing a character named John Methenkamp. He's a ladies' man from the '80s. He's kind of stuck there.
Nice.
Um,
Kinda like Uncle
and
Rico.
that's where the mullet came in. And I've got 11,000 followers on TikTok, but mainly uh, from the comedy. And late last summer, I started doing lives while we were out camping, and I started asking people for their ghost stories, and it kind of took off. And I mentioned Alan and Chris from Nevermore Hollows. I'd met them at the Ohio Bigfoot Jamboree last year, and they came into one of my lives. And Alan's like, "Dude, you're doing all the work for a podcast. Just start one." So that's how I started my podcast. But I was going to separate the comedy from the paranormal, and I don't do this very often, but I'm going to do it on your show. I started doing all my paranormal lives like this, and the first question everybody would ask is, "Heck yeah!"
There we go.
But the first question everybody would ask is, "Where's your mullet?"
Yeah.
So the mullet stayed. So you are getting. I've never done this on somebody's show before. So you're getting
It's
backstage pass.
it's an exclusive.
That's right. That's right for the
Yeah. I keep my head
Cryptid
shaved.
podcast only.
Absolutely. I keep my head shaved as well. Man, I got a bald spot about right here in the crown. And then my forehead is quickly turned into like a 9 head.
Yeah.
So and they're getting ready to touch.
Mine
So
mine comes back here like this,
yeah,
and it's like, yeah, that's not good.
I'm not fighting it anymore, man. I'm just
Right.
get
And
my
it's just
clippers. Yeah.
right. And it's so much cheaper than going to a barber anyway. And just shave it in
Oh,
the shower and you're good to go.
trust me, I know. You know, like a $30 haircut to my wife. My wife likes her hair cut by this certain person,
Mhm.
and she only charges like $20, $30 to cut it. But it turns into like a $50 haircut because she tips her $20.
Right.
I'm like, you
Right.
give her, I think it's $20 that the lady charges. And my wife on top gives her $20 tip. I'm like, you're giving her 100% tip? What the heck? So
It's girl math, man.
it
Don't worry
is.
about
It works. It
it.
works. So,
So,
man, I can't thank you enough for coming on the show. And, it is so nice to meet a group of guys. I mean, I have people that are other podcasters that have been guests on my show that we become a very close-knit group of friends. And that's what I love about you and Alan and Chris and Tommy and Matt. You guys are in that group with everybody else I have. And it's refreshing where I get to talk to people. I get to, you know, I'm prior military. You guys, I have a dark sense of humor. Um, I, I've,
yeah.
I've I've got a potty mouth, and it's cool that I get to hang out with guys like you guys because I get to show that dark sense of humor, and you guys get it, or you guys show your dark sense of humor, and I get it, you
Right.
know. But yeah,
Speaking of
man,
hanging out though,
what are we doing in June?
we are going to be at the Arkansas Cryptid Fest.
We
Put on by
are,
Yes, put on by Drunken Cryptids, our buddy Matthew Orton.
yeah, and it's going to be June 6th, 2026.
That's right. You'll
At
be a speaker. I'll be a speaker. Everybody's a
I
speaker.
am.
It's like Matthew was like Oprah. He's like, you get a speaker. You get a
Yep.
speaker.
He's up on the stage just tossing, "You get one and you get one."
Yeah.
I'm stoked, man. I mean, I'm gonna have a little booth up there and
Mhm.
and meet and greet and get to meet people that I've talked to online. And, I went to the Tennessee Wildman Cryptid Con in McMinnville, Tennessee just this year. And I'll never forget, I was sitting at Daryl Denton's and his wife, Rosie. I was sitting at their table, just kinda hanging out with them, helping them out if they need anything. And someone, "Daniel, what's going on?" And I'm like, "Whoa, what?" And there's someone who, "Hey, I'm so and so from chat." I'm like, "Oh, hey, how's it going?" And "Hey, will you sign this for me?" Uh, sure. There you go. And yeah, I met
Yeah.
some really cool. I hate saying fans. It just
I know it's weird to think that like I'm the same way. I went out to Portland. I was at Beachfoot that Todd Neese used to put on because this
really,
year was the last year for it. And I got invited this year, and it was weird walking into a place and somebody saying, "Hey, I know who you are.
yeah,
I listen to you." It's like, "Really? It's cool." You know?
that is cool.
All the
That's
way out
cool.
in Portland, Oregon,
Yeah,
Here I am. I'm from Ohio, but I live in Indiana, and travel all the way across the country just to find somebody that says, "Hey, I know who you are." That's
yeah,
just cool.
that's crazy. I was out and about a month and a half ago, and I was in the store and this person just kept looking at me. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, what do I got something in my beard? Because when I eat, some things just kind of happen. And I walked over and I was looking at something, and the person comes up, and I'm like, okay, now I'm getting to the point where fight or flight, but I don't have that flight mode. So I'm getting ready to square up. And the person goes, I know you. And I go, how do you have a podcast, don't you? And I go, yeah, I do. You're Dano, aren't you? And I was wearing a different type of hat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I wasn't wearing a Bigfoot hat. And they go, you're Dano, aren't you? I go, yeah. She goes, oh, I love your show.
That's
I
awesome.
I watch you on YouTube, and then I found you on Spotify, and then I saw that you were on YouTube, so I follow you on YouTube, and I'm like, man, that is awesome. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. Hey, I appreciate your support. So again, it's really weird. It's weird when my wife's with me. Oh, who was that? Don't you have
Well,
nothing to worry about, honey.
I understand exactly what you're talking about, because with that mullet, the women just they just flock to me.
It is. It's like a magnet.
Yeah, I gotta take it off, just get a break from them.
There you go. You do, man. If I get a break, I just take my shirt off and I get all the break I need, man.
Oh, there you go.
So, hey, man, if you want to hang out in the green for just a moment, I'm going to close this up and I'll be right back with you. All right.
All right. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you, man. You guys, that's John. I'm telling you, what an amazing encounter. I love the Bigfoot stories, but the rake encounter, again, when he first kind of mentioned it and he abruptly stopped talking about it when we first started talking, way before this time frame, I knew something, that there was something to that story, because I could just see it in his eyes. I could tell that there was even to this day, you guys, it's almost a year. It's almost been a year. It's like 15 days and it's going to be a year. Um, it's still fresh in his mind, and it really affected him in a certain way. And I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I kind of look at it as a good thing. His wife didn't see it. Now he's got to carry that weight of something his wife could have seen as well, and thank God she didn't see it. But you guys, again, that's it for the show today, man. I just want to say thank you so much for all the support. Again, if you guys have had an encounter and you'd love to come on the show, or like to come on the show, or just want to tell me your encounter to get it off your chest, shoot me an email at thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Again, thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. Go check John out at Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. Show him some love, show him support. If you like what he's got going on, give him some throw him a subscription. Again, if you guys like what you're hearing, like what you're seeing, I'm working hard for you guys. Please consider subscribing to the channel. Where you guys can see me, find the Cryptid Podcast. You guys can find me on Castbox, Podcast Addict, iHeart Podcast, Amazon Music, Apple Podcast, Overcast, Spotify, and YouTube, and a whole bunch more. Go and check out where you guys can check out podcasts, and hopefully you'll find me on there. All right, guys, I'm not going to get out of here without saying, as my buddy Josh always says, you guys stay prayed up. And as I always like to say, remember, guys, a legend begins with the sighting. You guys have a great day. I'll see you on the next show.
I got a strange going on out here. Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?